I personally would probably double that and maybe even a little bit more. Packed full of goodness hand pie. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, I'm Kathryn, the Aerogarden Homesteader, and today I am making some savory hand pies. So, in the grand scheme of things, I think just about every culture must have some sort of packaged product with meat or vegetables in it that is cooked and could be eaten with your hands or with fork or whatever. So, I am making something that it's sort of based off of a recipe that I normally make. So I make a meat pie recipe, and it's essentially beef and pork with onion and potato. Sometimes my mom threw in carrots, but traditionally it wasn't made with carrots. So today I'm kind of making a hand pie version of it with a few more vegetables in it, and the focus of the dish is more about the meat and the pepper. So normally when we make it as a meat pie, it's a very sort of peppery dish with meat, lots of meat. But in this case, I wanted to make something that was a little more vegetable rich because, you know, fiber is always good for you. And I'm going to keep that sort of meat and pepper focus, but, you know, with vegetables. And just in an easy to use format. So this is not a Cornish pasty. Please do not come at me in the comments because this is not a Cornish pasty. It has nothing to do with Cornish pasties. I am using a boiled crust to do this. I think they use a rough crust for it. And so it's completely different. But it is going to have some of my favorite vegetables in it. It's going to have the potatoes, the rutabaga, carrots, onion, and then the meat, and salt and pepper. So it's pretty easy to make, and I can also bake this outside in a toaster oven. So I have 2 pounds of lard, which should be 2 cups of lard. And I need 2 cups of boiling water, so this just came off the boil. I got a new stove. I'm so excited. You'll see it as one of these videos. But anyways, that is slightly more than 2 cups. There you go. That's 2 cups. I hope I don't break my bowl doing this. Okay. So I kind of want to cut up the lard into smaller pieces so that it will melt faster. And then hopefully my water will still be at a boil so that I can throw in the flour. So it should take about 5.5 to 6 cups of flour. You don't want it to be super sticky, but it is going to be a soft dough. I get the feeling that this will be, I've never actually made a boiled pastry dough, but I get the feeling it will be very similar to how tortilla dough feels. It's going to have that really soft texture to it. Because in the grand scheme of things, this is kind of made in a very similar fashion to how tortilla dough is made. Just less kneading. I just want to bring this together and then chill it. Hence the reason why we are doing the pastry first. This will need to chill before it can be used. So let's get this all, sorry, tap tap tap, that's got to be annoying. Okay, something to squish them a little bit. Okay, and I do need to fill up my flour bin, so I have my big huge 5-gallon bucket of flour up here, and I will, actually it just basically lives up here. It's in the way, it's always in the way. We got storage bins everywhere that are all in the way. It's just a big shuffling game of moving everything around. That is just how my kitchen works. We just don't have enough storage. Sad but true. Okay. So I will obviously save you the having to watch me pull all this together in slow motion. I will sort of speed it up a little bit just to get the point across of what I am doing. You don't need to see every little melting of the lard, but I will also go through and speed up vegetables. The vegetables do need to be cut finely, so that's going to take me some time to do, and that will give the crust plenty of time to cool off in the fridge, which I hope I have room in the fridge for. Oh my gosh, my fridge is so full all of a sudden. We go through these periods of empty, and then all of a sudden like crammed full, and then a couple days later all of a sudden it's empty again, and then it's just really funny. It's Does anyone else go through those? We also play the Tetris game where you have to put something in the fridge, but you have to take something out, and then you gotta put the other thing in, and then you just keep shuffling, shuffling, shuffling until finally you find a way to make that last item fit in a spot. I'm really good at that game, and I don't like it. I need a bigger fridge. Okay, so that looks like it's melted. So I have a big thing of flour. I'm going to just start putting it in. I'm going to start with 5 cups, and then we will see how much more it needs. So obviously it will depend on how much moisture is already in my flour, how humid it is today. It is really hot today. It's been really hot this week. So that's 4, I hope. Hope I didn't lose count. That's 5. And then I'm going to get the other one ready. Okay, so that's 6. It should take between 5.5 to 6 cups. Get my bucket out of the way. Let's get this all mixed in. Okay, well, it's definitely going to need more. But, oop! Well, so much for putting half of that in. Okay, well, I believe it might actually take all of it, so let's just put it all in. So unless my 2 pounds of lard was not actually equivalent to 2 cups. Ooh, that might need a little more. Yeah, let's put a little bit more in. Another ½ cup or so. So it's really soft. It's still very hot, but it does not seem like it's really sticky, but I still think it might need a little bit more. So it's another ¼ cup. So it probably took a little bit more than 6.5 cups of flour for me, but it is a very soft dough. Okay, that definitely looks a lot better. Okay, I am going to get this covered and in the fridge. Make sure there's no dry spots of dough on the bottom or flour. Okay, so that does look a lot better. Okay, and I will be right back with the vegetables. Okay, the crust was supposed to have salt in it. I totally forgot to put the salt in, so make sure you follow the recipe. I will have it linked below, and my recipe didn't actually, when I wrote it down, didn't have salt written down, so that's why I forgot to put salt in, but you know, it'll be fine. Just add a little extra salt to the filling. So I need 2 medium onions. I'm going to get those chopped up right away. I should pull the garbage can closer. Get the garbage can. So I do not have a jumbo mixing bowl, so I have my really big pot over here that I will mix things in, and I have a large measuring cup that I will measure things in first. Now, there is no cup measurement for the onion, it's just 2 onions. So that's kind of easy. I do wish that some of the recipes that I find had actual measurements, like, you know, put in 5 carrots, but I realize that 5 of your carrots might be bigger than 5 of my carrots, so we will just stick with the cup measurements for this, and we'll just deal. At least the meat comes by weight, so that's kind of nice. Let's get these diced up. You want everything to be fairly small diced because this is going to be cooking in the pie, in the crust. You want everything to be small. The smaller it is, the faster it will cook, and the more likely it is to be cooked by the end of the cook time. Now, especially since I am going to be cooking this outside in a toaster oven that is probably not going to reach the desired temperature and hold it constantly, I do want to have everything small, and I would like it to be cooked by the end. So I might have to play around with the cook times for the toaster oven, but I think it'll be fine if I were to do it in the oven. My outdoor sort of kitchen area, which consists of a turkey roaster, a electric canner, and a toaster oven, has been doing me really well so far. So we made some pizza out there. Yes, took a little bit longer than usual, but I was able to make pizza out there. I can do most of my canning out there now. I cannot water bath can quart jars because it doesn't work in the electric canner I currently have. But that's a different story. So far we have been able to kind of keep the house pretty cool inside, because basically if we can't eat it cold, it needs to be cooked outside. And so I've been doing pretty well with that, and we have been having, we're in a heat wave right now. We went from like really nice mild temperatures in the 70s to like 110 almost overnight. It was brutal. Okay, those are my 2 onions. I have rutabaga that I will be putting in because I much prefer rutabaga to turnip. If you prefer turnip, go right ahead. This is your, like, just make it yours. If you want to put in like chicken and curry, go ahead. Like, if you want to put peas in it, go ahead. Make it your own. Just, if you have a flavor profile that's sort of traditional to you and your family, try using it. This meat pie recipe it's something I grew up with. It's very traditional in my family, and I'm not even sure where it came from, but it's good. So, I'm going to get these peeled. I bought 4 of them. I hope 4 was enough because I needed like 5 cups. I am going to cut back a little bit on the amount of potato I put in just because I want to put in a little extra meat. I want to make sure it's meaty. So we will see. If I end up with a little bit less of this, then, well, that works out well too, because then I can put in a little more meat as well. I have lots of meat to put in. I am going to get a paring knife so I don't cut myself. Okay. You do whatever is comfortable for you. I learned how to peel with a paring knife, and so that's just what I do. Now you can, if you're really, really comfortable with using a knife, you can just sort of chip pieces off whatever you're doing and to make little pieces, and that will those will cook fast as well. That's generally what they do when they're making kind of like a Cornish pasty type. They'll chip pieces off, and you know, because they're sort of thin, they'll cook fast. I will not be doing that because I got a nasty blister in my finger there, and for some strange reason the skin just has not healed very well. It's just all rough. So I'm going to just use a food chopper to go through and get everything all chopped up. Hence the reason why you don't want to watch, because you're going to have to listen to the chopper. So, I mean, I assume chickens can eat this. Yeah, so I accidentally planted purple top turnip in my garden. I swore I planted rutabaga, so either the rutabaga didn't come up, or I got my seeds mixed up, because they do look very similar. But I am not, after planting turnips for 3 or 4 years, I am not a fan of turnip, and I don't know, I think it's because I didn't grow up with it. I did not have a turnip until I actually grew one in my own garden. And then I'm like, oh, that is not what I wanted. I mean, I knew I ate rutabaga when I was a kid, but who knew? And of course, because I don't like them, they grow really well in the garden. Can't get my beets to grow very well, and I love beets. One of these days I will get some beets and I will show you my way of making pickled beets, which are just awesome. They don't have that earthy taste to it. They've got a really nice spicy taste to it. So that's on my list of things to do, and I have some beets growing in the garden, but the weather turned super hot, and my fear is that they're going to bolt. I do need to start my winter garden for the cold crop. The fall garden, I guess. That is on my list of things to do. It's just too hot. We're going for it. We're just going to do them all. Okay, this is my food chopper. I am going to use the very fine, I don't know what size that is, but I'm going to use that to make sure I get nice fine little pieces. They will cook up fast, so I will not have crunchy vegetables. Okay, I am actually going to cut a little bit off of the bottom so I have a flat surface, because we don't want to have any accidents in the kitchen. I might also need to cut them a different orientation because I'm not sure if they're going to fit on the tray, but we shall see. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to cut really thin sort of slices and pass it through. I'm not going to make you listen to that because that is going to get old fast. It also requires a lot of effort to push it down, so we'll see how well my hand holds up. Okay, for the record, in case you're keeping count, 3 large rutabaga will be enough for 5 cups. So I do have some left over. Let me know below, what's your favorite way of using rutabaga? So I grew up having rutabaga mashed with carrots. So I might actually just make some of that for old time's sake, because I will have some carrots. I'm going to get a container to put these in, and then I will move on to the carrots. So I only need 6 cups of carrots, so I will not do quite so many. Let's start with 3 carrots. So I do not peel my carrots. There is nothing wrong with the carrot peel, unless the carrot looks nasty. These ones, I just got them. They look like they're in really good shape, so I will just give them a wash and eat the skin, because who cares? Okay, so 3 carrots is approximately 3 cups. I think I was over just a little bit. So now I need about 5.5 cups of potatoes or so. I'm probably going to just do 5 cups of potatoes, and then I'm going to make all that up in the rest of the meat. Okay, let's start with 7 potatoes and see if we can get to 5 cups. I'm going to check them for spots. No, I'm not peeling my potatoes either. There's just no point. I probably didn't have to peel the rutabaga, but I did. That I'm used to peeling. Everything else I'm not. Okay, so yes, about 7 potatoes will get you about 5.5 cups. Probably a little bit closer to 6, but that's okay. Now I'm going to keep these in the measuring cup, and I'm going to put some water on them just so they don't turn brown. Then I can get to chopping the meat. Okay, I am going to get started on the meat. I would like to give it the same treatment, but we will see how fine I can get this to cut up. This is actually still frozen, so hopefully it will cut relatively easily. I can get small pieces. I am using a tri-tip that we had in our freezer that has been in there for absolutely just far too long, and it's kind of looking a little on the gross side, so that's what I'm using. I also have some pork country ribs, and we tried them once. We didn't like them. We had a couple more in the freezer, so I'm just going to debone them and add that too. Use whatever combo of meat you want. You can use ground beef with this if you really want, but I kind of prefer the taste and texture of whole meat. So, you know, it's just, what are you used to? What do you want to deal with? You know, sometimes ground beef is just cheaper and easier, and everyone's got it in their freezer. So you get that piece of meat that's just been sitting around for a little too long and you want to deal with it, this is a great way. Now, I am using these as sort of a freezer meal. I will be freezing these raw, and then I will be cooking them sort of on demand outside in my either turkey roaster or, you know, toaster oven. And just, they'll be meals when I need them. They'll be nice. They won't be quick meals per se, because it is going to take a little bit of thawing time and a little extra cooking time, but, you know, it's better than having to make a meal on a hot summer day, especially when I'm trying to deal with garden stuff. So I am going to cut them relatively thin, kind of the same way I was doing my vegetables, and I will cube this up. So this is going to take me a little while, but I think the fact that it's partially frozen will help. If you have like a meat cutter, that would probably make this go a lot faster. I don't. One of these days I will get one. Now, because I am cutting this so fine, it literally does not matter which way I cut this. With the grain, against the grain, diagonal to the grain, it just doesn't matter. So take that into account when you are cutting things up really fine. Don't make extra work for yourself by trying to follow the grain, or go against the grain, or whatever. I will, of course, need my measuring cup back at some point. I guess it doesn't matter. I'm using 1.25 pounds of beef, and I'm using probably a little bit more than 1.25 pounds of pork. Probably closer to 2 pounds, just because I have a little bit more pork than the tri-tip. I'm going to save a little bit of the tri-tip and cook it up as tri-tip. I'm going to smoke it up. I'm going to do some bacon wrapped ribs again. Oh, those are so good. Okay, I do need a measuring cup though, just to hold the meat, if nothing else. trying to keep my work surface clean because I don't have a very big work area. Everything is all diced up. Unfortunately, my knife hurt my finger a little bit, but it is what it is. Everything's done. So it calls for a tablespoon of salt. I'll be a little bit generous on the salt because I did not salt my pastry, so I'm going to put in another maybe half teaspoon or so. I'll probably put in a little bit more, honestly, because the pastry needed a teaspoon at least. Okay, then I'm going to put in a tablespoon and a bit of pepper. So I am going heavy on the pepper. Normally it just calls for 2 teaspoons, but I want pepper. So I'm putting in probably 4 teaspoons. I have my potatoes drained. So those are going in, everything's in here right now. So if you're not prepared to put everything, like if you're not ready for assembly, you can keep things in their component parts, or you can mix everything together, which is fine, but just make sure you refrigerate it immediately so that you're not breeding bacteria. So I want to make sure this is mixed really well. Oh, it smells really good. The onion, the pepper, the meat. Reminds me of meat pie already. So now I probably could have backed off a little bit on the rutabaga and added in a little bit more meat if I wanted to go a little bit more meat heavy, but this actually looks really good. This is a good mix of meat to vegetable blend, in my opinion, for what I am trying to accomplish right now. So that is all blended together, and I am going to pause, clean my station, and then get to filling. Now that this has had time to cool, in about 2 hours, I am going to get it out of the bowl, and probably going to give it a quick little knead to bring it together, and then I'm going to divide it up into probably 13. I added extra flour, so it's probably going to need, I'll probably make 13 because of the extra flour. Still a little warm in the center, but I think it'll be okay. Okay, I have 1 kilogram and 880 grams. Oops. So I'm going to need to do some math. I need my phone. Okay, I need 145 gram balls. Now, obviously you can eyeball it. I am going to be a little more precise so that I know they are all approximately the same size. Okay, so I am going to ball these up a little bit and keep them covered because I don't want them drying out. And then I will roll them probably 1 or 2 at a time. I'll start with 1, see how I do, and then I will work my way up. And then I need to put on almost 2 cups of the filling. So it's going to be a packed hand pie. Packed full of goodness hand pie. Okay, I did have one that was slightly smaller than the rest, so I might do that one last and put whatever filling I have left in it. So I have all of my balls. They're just back in my bowl. I'm going to cover it with a damp tea cloth and get to rolling. Okay, so I got some trays out so I can put them on. It's good to have trays because you want to, if you're going to freeze them, you want to freeze them so they're not touching. That way you can separate them. And if you're baking them, then you can just put them straight on the tray for baking. So one way or the other, you need trays or something to put it on. And we'll see how much flour this takes. You keep it moving just a little bit. Number 1, it won't stick as much. Number 2, your chances of getting a circle go up. I'm not going to say you're going to get a circle, but you're going to get something closer to a circle. I still struggle to get circles. Now, it is a pretty stretchy dough, so just stretch it as needed as well. So I think I need about an 8-inch circle. It will stretch over the filling, so you just want to get it big enough to put your dollop of filling on. Then you can stretch it over and crimp it however you like. Okay, so that's 1. And that's not quite 2. and then whatever sticks, sticks. So that's what we're going with. Not quite 2. Then, before this gets folded over, I want to put a pat of butter in. So this is from the freezer butter because I want to be able to chop it up or shatter it or whatever and be able to put it on easily. Sometimes when it's soft, it just kind of mushes. I feel like I have messed up every knife in the house, every cutting board in the house. Okay, you want about a tablespoon of butter. I'm just going to break it up. That's actually why I want it frozen as well, as it just doesn't stick as much when it's frozen. Okay, so I am going to bring it up and then pinch it closed. At that point, I can decide if I want to keep the crimp along the top or bring it over to the front and crimp it there. So you can do a crimp this way if you want, or you can bring it around to the front and do the sort of the fold over crimp. It's not a round circle, but that's fine. You do want to make sure you crimp it nice and tight. You do not want this filling escaping. Oops, I had a little bit of filling escape. Okay, so I'm going to gently lift this up and put it on. That is a big hand pie. And I'm busting through a little bit. It got a little thin on the bottom, so this might end up being the top. Maybe I will do this one this way, so all of the little holes are at the top. Okay, maybe I will not roll the other one quite so thin. Okay, there we go. I'm going to get another dough. Okay, well this is going to be a case of lather, rinse, repeat. I do not know very many crimping methods, so either crimp it on the top, crimp it on the side, use a fork, whatever suits your mood at the time. Okay, I will probably roll out another 1 or 2 just so you can kind of see, but then after that I'll just skip ahead and get it ready for baking. I am not going to dock it at this point, so I'm not going to poke any holes in it for ventilation because I am going to freeze most of these and I'm going to just cook 1 or 2 so you can see what it looks like. I will put the holes in it at that point, so it does not need holes until I am ready to cook it. And the butter just helps kind of make a little bit of a sauce or gravy in there. Gives it a sort of a nice creaminess. It did help to kind of squish it together so it didn't spread out quite so much. Just for future reference. I think that was the problem with the first one. It was just too wide. The filling was just pulling at it. Okay, well that one did not crimp very well. You know what? I don't care. It's all about the taste. It will still taste good. I am going to get this hand pie ready for the oven. I have put some holes in it, but I'm going to make an egg wash. I am using some freeze-dried egg, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio for rehydration, so I have half a tablespoon in here. I'm going to add half a tablespoon of water, get it all reconstituted and brush it on. This is actually a great way if you don't like wasting egg. I hate wasting egg. So I'm just going to use a very small amount because then I don't have to throw anything out afterwards. Okay, now obviously half a tablespoon is not very much. So I'm just going to stir this up, get it reconstituted, and then I can brush it on. Now obviously egg wash is optional if you just don't feel like doing that. I don't normally put an egg wash on. I'm just doing it to show what it looks like and how it turns out. But under normal circumstances, I don't egg wash. Gotta make it look pretty for the thumbnail. Okay, once I feel satisfied that I have gotten everything covered, I will put this in the oven, 350, for approximately an hour. It will take longer than an hour because this is frozen. I am cooking straight from frozen. You can certainly thaw it a little bit, but if you're going to thaw it, make sure you're thawing it like it's not wrapped up in something so the crust doesn't stick, if you know what I mean. Clean some of the mess off a little bit. Okay, and then I will show you how it looks when it's done. This is how the hand pie turned out. It actually has really good flavor. Everything is cooked all the way through. The crust is nice and flaky. It needed more pepper. So if you really like pepper, definitely increase the amount of pepper. I will make a note in the recipe, but I will leave the amount of pepper that I put in as written, just in case you are not a pepper fan. The amount of pepper I did put in, it's a good amount. It's if you want to have like a normal amount of pepper, that's what I would consider a normal amount of pepper. I personally would probably double that and maybe even a little bit more. But I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll have some videos up at the end that you might also enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.